And welcome to another episode of the Miles Offside podcast, where we talk a little bit of football and a whole lot of nothing. My name is Chuck Bailey, and you are about to join us on the start of a mini-series of preview podcasts where I'll be talking to various fans. And he's been very lovely and staying nice and quiet in the background there. But it is my absolute pleasure speaking to you today about Chelsea Football Club, the one and only Mr. Andy Penpraze. Andy, welcome.
Hello. Hi, Chuck. How are you?
I am very well. How about yourself?
Not at all bad, thank you. Thank you for inviting me on.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Obviously, we had the conversation off air as well, the fact that this is the first time we've spoken. So, you know, it's always a treat to put a voice to a face, as it were.
Indeed.
So, obviously, the purpose of today, you know, we speak a lot of Chelsea on the pod, but you're a kind of a different voice and a less American and, frankly, a less grating one as well. So, just as a chance to introduce yourself to the listeners in that way, how did you become a Chelsea fan? What's your kind of link or connection with the club?
Okay, well, I mean, so I don't come from a football supporting family or anything, so I didn't have a dad's footsteps to follow in. Might have heard I come from Sutton, South London. I sort of first got into football in probably after Italia 90, after the trauma of watching that. And basically, everyone in my school, they either supported Chelsea, Arsenal or Crystal Palace. And my friends supported Chelsea, so I literally followed that lead. No deep ties, but they've become deep. Been my club for over 30 years and always will be.
Wow. So, okay, fair enough. So through friends. And so does that mean you started attending games with them, or is it more kind of casual fandom, collecting Panini stickers, that kind of thing?
Yeah, collecting Panini stickers. I mean, I come from quite a poor family, to be honest with you. We never had money to go and see a football game.
Right, gotcha.
But it's sort of little bits and pieces sort of got me involved with the club quite nicely. Like my grandmother used to take me up to Stamford Bridge to go to the club shop when it was the old club shop pre-Megastore.
Right, yeah.
I had a teacher from school who had a friend who had a season ticket who organised me to go along with him one time when his son couldn't make it. So got to see Chelsea v United sort of in the old West Stand when it was sort of concrete benches. So I got little ins there here and there, but I didn't go and see Chelsea under my own steam until I was well into my late 20s when I started to earn enough money to actually go to a game.
Got you. And so did that, like Oscar, did that kind of coincide then with all the money that came with Chelsea? And not that I'm trying to say you're a glory.
No, the glory hunter stuff really grates on me actually, because you know when I was at primary school, the Palace fans used to take the piss out of me for supporting a rubbish team.
And that's saying something. That really is saying something.
Yeah, so you know, in the days of like Dimitri Karine and Dennis Wise and Gavin Peacock, we weren't the best. But no, I mean the money came in 2003, and so I think I first went to a game under my own steam like 2009, so it'd been a few years in by that point. It took me a while to actually get to the point where I could actually afford to shell out 60 quid for a ticket.
Yeah, especially, you know, we talk about football prices now, but 60 quid in 2009, although that's not a lifetime ago, it's a hefty chunk of change.
Yeah.
It's so you've kind of been following properly for a fair amount of time. So, you know, we can kind of touch on obviously the ownership issues and the sanctions and the Abramovich of it all as kind of as much as you want. I don't really want to bog you down. I'm sure we've all had enough of politics today.
No, I'm happy to talk about it.
Talk about good. Boris Johnson? Wow.
No, let's talk about Abramovich, not Johnson.
Okay, so how are you kind of feeling about his tenure and obviously the changes and what's happened afterwards with obviously Granovskaya going, Bowley taking over with a consortium and kind of a potential change in tack of the way Chelsea operate? Because it's been well run, shall we say, for a moment.
It has. And, you know, Oscar's sort of nailed it before when he said it's possible to be a good football club owner and an awful human being. Roman did good things for Chelsea. He propelled our club from a pretty average place to a place we never really dreamed to be. So I don't think any Chelsea fan can really moan about Roman. Ultimately, Ken Bates, he nearly sunk Chelsea financially by the early 2000s, and he pulled us from the ruins.
Yeah,
he made us great.
You were in a bad spot at that point as well. There was a lot of worries going around before Abramovich came in, wasn't there?
There was, and it's interesting because we were playing well. We had Ranieri. We were playing Champions League football. We were sort of challenging towards the top of the table, whilst never really sort of challenging for the title. But yeah, financially, we were, we could well as easily gone out of business in those times. So yeah, Roman gave us loads. He gave us success. He gave us trophies. He wasn't perfect as an owner, I don't think. I'm a huge fan of continuity. I'm a huge fan of the club having an identity, and I think we lacked that with him. He never let a manager settle. He never really let sort of Chelsea have an identity other than just being a club that buys stars. So, I love the success. I love the trophies. Winning Champions League in 2012 is, still one of the best moments of my football sporting career life.
You were.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Let's call
why
it.
Not? Yeah.
You're retired now, of course, but
Yeah. So yeah, I'm frustrated as a fan to see us churn through managers and bring in ill-fitting marquee signings. I've long looked at people like Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool and felt envious at having an identity that we didn't have. So, bringing that to the new owner, we hope that that's an opportunity. I think it's an assumption at this point, but he looks to be leaning on analytics. He looks that he might back Tuchel for the long term. If we can sort of grow into that space of being a team that is really smart with our purchases, uses analytics to sort of gain that 0.5% edge in sort of 100 different areas, back to manager long term, so we could go places. So it's interesting. I'm positive about new ownership, but at the same time, a little bit scared because we don't really know what we got.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I mean, we should preface this. Ultimately, I don't know when we're going to start releasing these pods, but we're recording now on the 7th of July. Hence, the Boris Johnson joke is very topical. So now I can put that hashtag in and it'll be good for our SEO, and loads of people will listen to this now.
Brilliant.
But yeah, I think you're right. It's such early days, and are you at all worried? Because I guess kind of, being how we're in silly transfer season and those kind of things as well. Are you at all worried by the fact that there haven't really been any ins yet? I mean, as we speak, it seems to be Raheem Sterling is coming in for 45 million, which I firstly think is a great one. But obviously, the Lukaku experiment is for the moment over. Christensen left and has now been announced as Barcelona. Rudiger has gone to Real Madrid. So is there anything there that kind of concerns you, or are you happy for them to kind of take their time? Or
I've never been concerned about rushing to transfers because I think, ultimately the club, you've got to leave the club to do what they're doing in the window. And I don't think it helps when fans get agitated saying, why haven't we done stuff? I will be concerned if we sign someone like Ronaldo.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, but I think, the way that they appear to have given a lot of control to Tuchel over identifying players is good. The way took Rafinha and Sterling, potentially excellent signings.
Yep.
My concern is twofold. The first, that the club needs to make money now, whereas we've been bleeding money under Abramovich. So it's what our spending power actually is, which is not clear. And the second is, having lost Granovskaya, I think she had to go. She did a great job for the club, but she's part of the outgoing regime. And ultimately, the new owners will want to cut those ties, especially with the toxicity of, what actually happened in terms of the sanction and the Ukraine war, etc.
Yeah.
So I think that makes sense, but I'm a little bit surprised she got to Chesterton so early.
It did come quite a surprise, really. I mean, with hindsight, you think about it and it makes sense, but Todd Bowley, whilst he's clearly a very skilled operator to get to where he is in life and has run sports teams before, her contacts and are kind of invaluable within the world of football, and she's revered, feared, respected, all of it. And so I think it's kind of strange, isn't it? It's kind of betwixt and between that you can see why she's gone and why maybe she should have stayed.
Yeah, we'll see how it shakes out. I think the concern is that you end up with like a Man United situation with Ed Woodward, where you've got someone who doesn't appear to know how to get stuff over the line, and that ultimately impacts your team. But we'll see. We're just making stuff up that we think we know right now.
Yeah, God, I mean, I can't see you turning into a Man United, mate. That's even more of a basket case. They're all sharing videos on Twitter now of them passing to each other in training and making out like it's a revolution. Like, bloody hell, mate. So you mentioned obviously a few of the signings there. Is there any particular area you really think that Chelsea needs refreshing or needs the people, or any players you really hope come in for there?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two really obvious areas. I think the first is up front. You just have to look at the disparity between sort of what we should have been putting up last season and what we actually put up. To see, we need a player who consistently puts the ball in the net. Havertz doesn't appear to be that finisher. Werner obviously isn't. I don't think it necessarily needs to be like a ruthless number 9 necessarily. I think it's credible for wide players to fill that gap.
Yeah.
The wing backs have delivered in this respect under Tuchel's system.
Hugely.
It's completely acceptable to think that bringing in Sterling and Rafinha will deliver us goals from the wing. Tuchel plays a system where the goals do come from out wide. You can see Havertz and Mount linking up really well with Rafinha and Sterling. So if we get those two, I'll be so happy. I think that gives us the goals we need. The second obvious one is centre-backs, isn't it? We quite desperately need some centre-backs. De Ligt is the one we've been linked with.
Yeah, De Ligt that would be pretty bloody good. I mean, he's still so young and, went with a lot of fanfare to Juventus, which kind of died out a bit just because of, them kind of floundering the last few years and dealing with FFP, etc. But yeah, because centre-backs and a volume of centre-backs, I think you probably need.
Yeah, I mean, Silva will do a job, but he's so old, isn't he? He's about 100 now, I think. So I don't think we can rely on him. But yeah, I'm sure they've got that covered. I think the other thing we need to look at as well is, Kante is sort of on the cusp. We can't rely on him for too much longer. And Jorginho isn't it. He's not mobile enough. So we're probably... not this season, but we need to look at his long-term replacement. And, again, sort of obvious names like Declan Rice would be great. It'd be interesting to see what they do with that.
Obviously, to kind of link a little bit to that with midfield, and obviously myself being a Palace fan, how do you see Tuchel using Gallagher potentially in this team? Because he, the whole time when he was at Palace, he was saying he kind of a few times he wished he didn't get him to leave, and he said he's very much interested in his plans, and if Gallagher is going to stay, he was in and around the England team with the World Cup coming up. So do you see him fitting in, and potentially then other academy players, Armando Broja, Levi Colwill, these kind of players, actually potentially under the Bowley era getting more of a chance?
I can't see why not, because I think financially we need it to happen. We need to bring through some academy prospects, and Conor Gallagher's not an academy prospect, is he? He completely did the business at Palace last season. He's proven he can perform at an elite level. There's absolutely no reason why he can't be starting regularly for Chelsea. He just needs to get his chances and show that he can do it.
Yep.
I think Billy Gilmore, same. He's got a lot to offer. I do feel there's sort of like a couple of those sort of more established academy players who we've really wanted to see kick on and haven't, in sort of Cal Hudson-Odoi and Loftus-Cheek. And obviously injuries have really sort of murdered really their chances, haven't they? But I kind of wonder if we will see them. But Gallagher and Gilmore definitely love to see. Broja, we haven't really got a centre forward right now. So Broya, why not let him play this season? Why not give him a chance to show what he can do? Again, he did it at Southampton, didn't he? So there's no reason not to.
Yeah. No, that's good. I think it makes sense. And you kind of touched on it there, the financial situation. And obviously Chelsea have been famous for sending approximately 73 players on loan every year. And with that now going to 8, I believe, from this year, as well as obviously not necessarily having as much financial backing. And the invention, as it were, of the buyback clause.
I mean, I'd like to... I'm not really sure, but is Lucas Piazon still a Chelsea player? Because he seems to have been spent his entire career, professional career, on loan.
He's just been given another week's contract extension. He's with Marco van Ginkel, and that
he's there, isn't he?
Was there for 20 years.
So we talk about the Ilse-Sophia Abramovich era. This is the example, the sort of the people who just hang around. There's no reason why they're there. They're just there.
Yeah, exactly. And I genuinely can't remember the goalkeeper's name now, but he was the longest serving player without ever having played a game. Like it was mad. So while we kind of touched then onto next season, how do you kind of see this season going? What are your expectations? Because last year, I mean, podcast wise anyway, we were fairly high on Chelsea. I think based on Tuchel's short tenure, it was kind of fairly well founded, and especially with the way that Lukaku came in, I think it's very easy with hindsight to say that he was a failure, but I don't think anyone really called that at the time. So how do you kind of see things going for this season, and what are your realistic expectations of league and maybe Champions League or any other domestic cups as well? What's kind of your feeling on those?
Well, obviously we're going to lose the FA Cup final because that's become our thing.
Standard,
Yeah. So look, I think any Chelsea fan is realistic enough. No, actually, I'll correct that. I think loads of Chelsea fans.
Let's go back over that straight away.
I, as a Chelsea fan, am realistic enough to know that we're nowhere near City and Liverpool, and any pretensions to finish in the top 2 are kind of a bit mad. I have to say that I think Spurs have got every reason to expect to finish 3rd in this season. They kind of really done good business, and
very good business. Yeah, Jeff's eagerly manager, badgering me for when he gets to come on and talk about Spurs all the time. He cannot wait. He is pre-epic.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be wonderful to see it blow up, but I don't think it will. Arsenal have gotten their stuff together. I pushed for a prediction. I think we're going to finish 5th.
Right. Okay.
I still think we got enough to finish ahead of United. Newcastle are at least a season away from being a credible threat.
Yeah.
But I think Spurs will finish ahead of us with City and Liverpool. I think one of West Ham and Arsenal, they're both enough on an upwards trajectory. To make us feel vulnerable. So I wouldn't be surprised if we finish as low as 8th, if I'm being honest with you, because it's going to be such a season of transition. But I think 3rd would represent a great success.
Yeah. I think you're right. It's weird, and that's not necessarily to say that 7th or 8th might be a bad thing. It's just that there seems to be a lot of teams that are in a similar position right now, depending on their trajectories. I mean, we simply don't know what Man United are going to be like. But like I said earlier, they have just discovered passing and running. So more on that as we get it throughout the season. You preempted me, I guess, then with the Spurs, because I can kind of see that as well. And obviously we don't know about Arsenal and Chelsea. One of West Ham, Newcastle, hell, even Villa. But I think it's been so long since Villa signed all of their players that we've forgotten that they've made some great moves. So, it's kind of
lots of threat.
But do you think? I mean, I guess it's kind of the problem is with what it's like for sentimentality in football and people wanting to do stuff. So, do you think Tuchel can do enough to kind of survive the season, or what do you think he would kind of have to do to achieve that?
I honestly hope that the hierarchy just back him and say, you know what, we want to make this a project, and ultimately you can finish 8th, and that's fine, as long as we can see that things are going in the right direction. That's always been my opinion with managers, to think long term. Unfortunately, you lose 3 or 4 games and you get all the Twitter twats kicking up a massive fuss, and suddenly, people listen and react.
Yeah.
But I think a good cup run and sort of looking good on the pitch, not necessarily much of results will be enough given the transition, but that all makes a lot of assumptions about the owners.
Yeah.
On a cup run, Champions League, I've got a feeling about this.
Okay,
and
here we go.
You can absolutely rip me to shreds over this in a few months' time. But we've won the Champions League twice before when we've had absolutely no right. And I feel one thing that Tuchel can do is win any game on any given day. So that's my bold prediction, is that we're going to win the Champions League this year. Well, finish out and win the Champions League.
Well, I think that was kind of my next question, because finishing 8th and the manner of which is okay, whatever. I know we're going to the extreme here, but that then doesn't mean Champions League football. But what Tuchel has shown, with the exception of the Champions League this year, is he's reached the final in every competition he's been in since he moved to Chelsea. So do you think then there will be that conscious effort to target the Champions League, as it were, with the weird schedule we have, which we haven't even really touched on, where all 6 group games are done by November?
Yeah, I mean, why not? Yeah, it's achievable, right? Why not?
Cool. And we should probably touch on maybe the fantasy football element as well, as we know you are an eager player. You've got your team, you've got your team ID. Look at you with your 3 digits. Oh, 4 digits. This is going out to everyone. This is great. I don't go on Twitter anymore. Fuck them. How do you feel, or how do you normally view your Chelsea assets? Do you stick to them? Do you avoid them? Are there any that are straight in your team for this year? How do you feel about the pricing? Because, again, Chelsea feel a bit priced to buy if things go well.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to avoid Chelsea because I want to enjoy FPL, and seeing my actual team do badly and my FPL team do badly just doesn't make for a good weekend. But they're priced to buy. I think the problem is that the FPL points are really spread out amongst the Chelsea players. So I'm actually steering clear initially. I think we need to see how things shake out with positioning. But there's a lot of players there that are kind of on my short list to come in if they sort of start showing stuff. The one exception to that is probably Rafinha. If he signs, he's at 7 million, I think he is. He's straight in.
Yeah, I was going to say he's 7 to 8. Raheem Sterling at the minute, even at 10. No one at Chelsea at the moment costs more than 8, from what I remember. Your defenders, your Reece James and your Chilwells, who Chilwell's obviously back now, has gone straight into training. You've got a pre-season ahead. I mean, that's got to be good signs, really, that there might be a bit more value there for Chelsea, eh?
Yeah, and I mean, the wing backs looks like where it might be at, with Chilwell and James at those prices. But I think it remains to be seen if the goals will still keep coming from those wing backs. If you've got Rafinha and Sterling further up the pitch, it makes sense that they will kind of usurp James and Chilwell for those goals. Like, they were providing it because no one else was there to provide it last season. Yeah. Well, obviously not Chilwell because he was injured, but Alonso. So there's a lot. It's a big wait and see.
Alonso.
Big wait and see.
Forgot about Alonso. Yeah. Even he's trying to leave. Fair. You should probably have abandoned that one years ago. But we kind of went wishy-washy. We kind of went wishy-washy on it a little bit earlier. But I'm going to nail you down now. Imagine you're doing your predictor league.
Yeah.
Where are you putting Chelsea?
5th.
Chelsea, 5th place. That might be good enough for Champions League this year with the extra English spot as well.
Maybe.
Everything. So there we go, folks. You heard it here. Andy Penpraze, Chelsea are finishing 5th. Outrageous, disgusting. Calls himself a proper fan. It's been absolutely wonderful to speak to you, Andy. Both for being able to finally speak to you again, another Chelsea voice, like we said before. It's an absolute pleasure, and you're an absolute gent. You've done a marvellous job.
Thanks, Jack.
And thanks to all the producers. I mean, you. Andy, Johnny, Nate, Mark Daffin, Sam Danby, Jeff Pedder, Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.